Welcome once again, this time to the Chocolate Bar Hiking Diet and Nutrition Plan. Aren't you excited? This is going to be epic, and you're all part of it. This is great. So welcome again. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We're going to get right into it. I should tell a little story though, because after all, stories are fun. I wouldn't even be talking about diet here, except that about 20 years ago, I weighed 214 pounds, and I'm only 5'8". So 214 pounds is a bit much for me. And I really didn't feel good at that. And I was lifting weights. In fact, I had my best bench press. I was doing my best bench press at the time. About that time, I broke my toe. And the doctor, that's when I went to the doctor, and he said, "Oh, you've got osteoporosis," after they did all the tests, right? But that was 20 years ago, 213 or 14 pounds. And so I drop her down in 160 something now. And I'm a lot better shape, obviously hiking and doing all of that. But I had to take control of my eating because eating is will put the weight on, it'll put the fat on, and no matter how much exercise you do, it doesn't make any difference. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. If I can get this turned over here. So why the chocolate bar? Because you deserve it. After all, come on. Let's say you're heavy. You're too heavy. You're heavier than you want to be. And somebody comes along and says, well, if you want to lose the weight you want to lose, you got to give up everything you like. Come on now. If you started hiking, if you've got an exercise plan, those two things will keep you alive. And you can at least have a chocolate bar every month and don't have to have any guilt about it. Once a month, chocolate bar. No problem. Except, there's one caveat. One caveat. If you are a sugar addict, and you know if you're a sugar addict, you might have to give it up altogether, cold turkey. And you're the only one that knows that. If you're a sugar addict, then hey, go ahead, give it up completely, because you take that 1 bar a month, and that 1 bar cascades into, well, maybe this time I'll get 2 bars, because I'm only going to have 1 shot at it, right? Hey, this month I'm going to get 2. Well, I'll get 2 bars a month. Oh, well, it's a couple days later, and you're back in the store, and you say, well, I don't know, maybe I ought to get another bar. After all, it's been like 3 or 4 days since I had one. So it starts to snowball, and that's a clue. You got a problem. Just get rid of the sugar completely. No more sugar in your diet. 0. But if you don't have that problem, then have a chocolate bar. And by the way, it doesn't have to be chocolate. It doesn't have to be candy. If you're a chip nut, you like chips, have a bag of chips once a month. No problem. You deserve it. You deserve it. But if you're a sugar addict, that's the only thing. And no sugar for you. So, if you can eat 1 bar a month, then you're fine. Like I said, you're hiking every week, you're going to the gym every day. So, that's important to keep in mind. But whatever diet you go on doesn't make any difference. Be kind to yourself. And the next thing you need to know about diet is, people talk about the diet, even my hiking at chocolate bar hiking diet. Everybody's different. Everybody's different. Your body's going to react differently to different kinds of diets. And the future of dieting is really, and the future of medicine for that matter, is DNA. That's the future. They're going to be able to know exactly what kind of a diet you can tolerate. And they know some of that already. If you go to, at least if you get your DNA analyzed by 23andMe, there's another one, DNA Fit, which I recommend. Especially, not just for diet. Their diet recommendations I thought were but I thought that their exercise recommendations were great. They tell you whether you responded more to powerlifting or to endurance, and so you know what you're a little bit better at. And I thought that was useful. But that's going to be the future of diets. You're going to be able to take a look at what your DNA is and what's expressing, what genes are expressing, epigenetics, and you can say, aha, okay, this diet over here, this one here would help me more than this one over here because of my particular genetics. And again, they're getting better and better at it all the time. Can't have one diet fits all. Everybody responds differently. What's next? All right, so diets are confusing, right? So confusing. And that's why I say no diet fits everybody. But there's the zone diet. You heard of the zone diet? That hasn't been out there. They haven't talked about that in a while. Vegan diet, of course. I was vegan. I was a complete avo-lacto vegan. Not a vegetarian, a vegan. So I didn't do dairy, no eggs, no dairy. I didn't do that. I didn't do any dairy for probably 15 years. And I didn't know enough because the people I heard it from originally didn't really emphasize it. I'm sure they knew about it, but they didn't emphasize it. That when you're a vegan, and if you're not doing any dairy, you better be supplementing. And you better be supplementing with B12, and you better be supplementing with calcium, and you better be supplementing with vitamin D, especially if you live in an area that doesn't get a lot of sunshine like I do. So those are some things to keep in mind, vegans. If you're out there and you're vegan, I'm all for you. But I don't want you to wind up with osteoporosis like me. So keep that in mind, folks. Don't do what I did. My vitamin D levels were like in the toilet, not the main reason. For years, that's the main reason. What calcium I was getting from vegetables, if there was any in vegetables, whatever it was in there, it wasn't doing any good because I didn't have any vitamin D in me anyway. So, there's the paleo diet. There's fasting. There's the bulletproof diet. I love the I went on the bulletproof diet for a while. That was a good one. I like that. It kind of worked for me. I like the bulletproof coffee too. It's good stuff. In fact, if you're going to fast, it's a great way to kickstart the fast. So you have that bulletproof coffee, then you don't eat for 3 or 4 days. The longest fast I've ever been on was 4 days. Kind of wanted to do the whole 5-day fast, but 4 days. I don't recommend it to anybody because since that time, and this wasn't that long ago that I did, it was a few months ago, but since that time I've learned that it can be dangerous for people, and especially if you have health problems. If you have health problems and you go on a 5-day fast, you can compromise yourself. So I'm pretty healthy. I mean, 76-year-old, climbing a mountain every week. I don't take any prescription medications at all. I don't take anything for blood pressure, anything for cholesterol. I don't take anything for anything. I take a lot of supplements. We're going to talk about that. But I don't take anything. I don't have any prescriptions on my Medicare bill. That's it, nothing. So, and I think it's because I exercise. I think it's a big reason for it. In fact, I'd probably be on psychiatric medication except that I exercise every day. That's my what is it? What am I thinking of? It's the drug. It's one of those psychiatric medications. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, so nutritional ketosis. Yeah, that was a bulletproof diet. You were in nutritional ketosis quite a bit of the time when you're on that. But fasting, you fasted for 24 hours. It's no big deal. In fact, what I do, I fast 16 hours a day. They call that intermittent fasting. I've been doing that for a long time. And that just, you stop eating around 1 o'clock and you don't eat anything till the next day around, 6 or something like that. So it's like 16 hours or 15, 16 hours. And it's very good. Not good for everybody, not good for some women. Women can't handle it. Also, if you're trying to put on muscle and you're doing that every day, then you better be lifting weights. Because otherwise, your body fat's actually going to go up. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Done some studies on that, I guess. So keep that in mind. Losing weight, fat, 20% exercise, 80% in the kitchen. So don't kid yourself that hiking and exercise is going to do it all for you guys. You're going to have to do something else. You're going to have to cut it back. You're either going to have Dr. Peter Attia says you're going to have to pull 1 to 3 levels or 2 or 3 levels all the time. Either reduce your calories, fasting, and there's one other one. Reduce the calories, fasting, or maybe I'll think of that one too. I didn't write it down, I don't remember. But check out Peter Attia. He says some good ideas. But you got to be doing something all the time. Otherwise, you're gonna lose the battle. And then, as I said, vegan, careful. Need to supplement with vitamin D and calcium, B12 and B12 as well. Fasting's not for everybody. Got to lift weights to avoid increasing body fat. So I wrote a book a while back. This is the first time I talked about my book, right? This whole course. But I got to plug my book a little bit. It wasn't that bad. It's called Attacking Adversity. Now this whole course would have been about attacking adversity, except that I'm still attacking adversity. I'm in it. So as long as you're in it, you can't say you're on the other side. So you can't have a mess and then give you a message that I'm on the other side and I'm going to show you how to get there. Because So this is about hiking. Hiking does help. It helps you maintain when you're going through tough times. It helps you maintain your mind and get solid, so you can keep pushing through. And that's exercise does that, and hiking really makes a big difference that way. So that's key. But I did write the book Attacking Adversity, and I go into diets in detail in the book, more detail than I'm going to go into it today. And also, I have a website, and I'm going to have 2 websites. There's going to be, I think, a website called Attacking Mountains, but it's not up yet. But I have a website called Stay on Offense on that.com, and stayonoffense.com. What that has is a lot of pictures of my hikes, and a little article about hiking. And then there's two things I do. I have a book review. I review a book, and I probably have 50 some books in there now that I've reviewed, in my own little way of reviewing a book. And then the hiking articles, and I try to make them sort of fit with one another. You'll see if you go there, and you can see my book there. My book's on Amazon. I think if you have Kindle Unlimited, you get it for free anyway. So, all right. So enough self-promotion. So here's my plan. Here's my diet plan. So exciting. It's not for everyone. So high fat, low carb, 16-hour a day intermittent fasting, as I mentioned. Most of the time I wake up, I have coffee, I go for a half an hour walk. Come back and I work out for 45 minutes at home. Do a 45-minute home workout. I started doing that during the pandemic because I couldn't go to the gym. I just decided to keep doing it. I cut it back a little bit because when we were going to the gym, it was like 2 hours long. Now, it's like 45 minutes and I go to the gym for another 40 minutes. So it all kind of works out, and the home workout's actually harder because I do burpees at home. That's probably the big reason. And then supplements. So that's one of the reasons I did this section was supplements, because I do take a lot of those, and I thought that maybe if you find about those now, it could make a big enough difference for you long term. And for camping prevention, cramping prevention, when I'm hiking, I take of course the hydration and electrolytes. I think we talked about a little bit about that. After the hike, I take magnesium lotion, put that on there. And I take Mag-RR. I think I showed you that before at bedtime. And Mag-RR has melatonin in it and it has GABA in it. So it's to be taken when you go to bed or just before you go to bed. It's not. They have another product that's just magnesium that I also take on really long hikes. I'll take a lot of that during the hike, and it helps avoid cramping as well. But cramping is so individual. Everybody's a little bit different. So you got to try different things. I use the regular magnesium on the trail. So I also, just to go down a rabbit hole a little bit about off the subject, I guess, I use foam roller. I didn't think I mentioned this before, but I use the foam roller like crazy after a hike, and I do what's called a couch stretch. I don't have mentioned that before, but those 2 things after a hike, and also I use the massage balls that I talked to you about before, but it bears repeating. Use these things on yourself, especially when you're done hiking. And then the other thing is compression tights. compression tights, if you use those, put those on after a hike. I'm going to start doing that. I hadn't been doing that before, but I'm going to start doing that because it's to really make a big difference in recovery. And the other thing, I just remembered, it's not even up here. BPC 157 is a peptide that, normally you inject a peptide is just a protein. And they're finding out more and more about peptides all the time now. There's all kinds of them for sleep and this and that and the other thing. But BPC 157 is normally injected, and it's supposedly more effective and quicker and all that when you inject it. Nobody's going to inject it, at least I'm not going to inject it. But there's one source, and you can find them online. It's oral BPC 157. And you say, well, do you think the oral works? Well, I tried it for a couple months, and I got to tell you that the soreness in my legs after a hike, totally different. Hardly even noticed it. My soreness was way down. And if I tweaked myself in the gym, it got better right away. It just helped overall. So BPC 157, and there's only, I think, one doctor. If you go to bengreenfield.com, bengreenfieldfitness.com, and just type in the search BPC 157, he's got a whole podcast with the guy that they talk about, or you type in oral BPC 157, they'll talk to you about it. You'll be able to find out more about it. But oh gosh, it really helps with any kind of exercise. So there you go. Yeah, and another one. If you're going to get to altitude, and I'm talking about altitude, I'm talking 10,000 feet or more, I highly recommend, because I did this last year when I went up to Camp Muir, something from Biotropic Labs. It's called Alti Fuel Extreme Sport. And you start taking those a few days before you go on the hike. And it really makes a difference in performance. I took the magnesium, but I also took those. I had no cramps that last year at all. And I usually, after doing Rainier, I've got cramps like crazy, either on the way home or later that night. No, I didn't have anything at all. No problems at all. So Biotropic Labs, Fuel Extreme Sport, keep it in mind at altitude. Okay, there's one to rule them all. One supplement to rule them all, right? There's always one. Remember energy? We talked about energy, how important energy is, especially as you get older. I know a lot of people say to me, hey, Bill, how do you have the energy to get up and hike all the time? How do you get the energy to get up and work out every day? How do you get the energy? I mean, how do you do it? I mean, and they're in their 40s and they're like in their 50s or maybe they're 60 and they're going, to get out of bed. All right, so energy is really important. How important is it? Well, it'll make you or break you. So there's one supplement that's made a huge difference for me. I've been taking it for 5 years, steady every day. And I take what's called NR. There are two. It's NMN or NR equals more NAD. So let me explain. NAD is required for DNA repair and for energy production. And it takes care of your mitochondria. So and the NMN, NR precursors for NAD. I like the NR because you only have to take it once a day. I tried the NMN, and it's supposedly better. There's some argument back and forth, but it's supposedly better than NR. But you got to take it twice a day, and I always have trouble remembering to take it the second time, so I just take the one. I take NR once a day. So this is what it stands for. NMN is nicotinamide. NR is nicotinamide riboside, if you like to know what the names are. And NMN, like I say, maybe better, but 2 times a day. I take NR and have for about 5 years. NAD is a coenzyme. And it's a long name for that too, but I think it's, what is it? Never mind. Nicotinamide. Never mind. It's along those lines though. NAD, it's a coenzyme and it has critical role in cell repair and energy production. I can tell you, I can vouch for the energy. I really think it's made a big difference for me. It's been a big difference for me, and it may be placebo, who knows? But science says it really makes a difference. And there are some people who go out and they'll get like spend 4 hours getting an NAD injection, and they say, well, that really does it. I've talked to people too that said they got that done, and they didn't notice anything, but the guy was kind of young, so I think the older you are, you probably notice more, but because you probably don't have as much as you would when you're younger. So, what else? So I take the True Niagen brand. There are two NR brands out there, True Niagen and Basis. I took Basis for a while, but theirs was a little bit more expensive than the True Niagen. True Niagen and some, they argue back and forth, but True Niagen seemed to have a little bit more support in the scientific community, but I may be totally wrong about that. No, but I like it's a little less expensive, so I use True Niagen. And that's it, folks. Oh, wait a minute. One more. There's something called Qualia Mind. Qualia Mind is from Neurohacker Collective. I took it for a while. Very expensive. It's like $100 or something a month. But it's the mind pill. If you got some big thing coming up that you want to perform at, and you want you to be as sharp as you can be, and you're a little older like me, man, you pop some of those, you take 6, at least you did when I took it. You take like 6 tablets, and it just really turns you on, turns your mind on. You get better verbally, and as you can tell, it could really help me. And it does when I take it. But it's very expensive. But check it out. Maybe they drop their prices. I don't know. And then one more. Gotta check this one out. This isn't that expensive. It's coffee. It's called Chimera coffee, and it has nootropics in it, like Qualia Mind. Not as much, but it's got some of those nootropics in it. It's right in your coffee. There you go, in the coffee. So I really appreciate the time you spent with me, and I hope you had a good time. I enjoyed this course. There is one more bonus video I'm planning to do, and that's going to be just on hikes that I enjoy here in Western Washington. So it's primarily going to be for somebody either going to move here someday or that lives here now. But I enjoy your time. I appreciate it, and happy hiking.